I'm Aditi Mehta.
I'm Prachi Arora.
Prachi, I'm all for bringing about change in the society, and I also understand the need for it. But I feel sometimes we really pressurize ourselves to change everything on our own. We're not alone here, and I feel it's perfectly okay to ask for help when needed. What do you think?
I think you are absolutely right. Anyway, as children, we used to seek help from our parents for like almost everything.
Absolutely. In fact, physical challenges can be easily detected, but learning challenges may sometimes go unidentified.
But not unidentified by our next speaker of the day. He identified a challenge, overcame it, and is now helping other children overcome it.
Our next speaker works as a test manager at Fidelity on the weekdays and on weekends, a public speaking coach. He will talk about his journey from a young boy lacking confidence in himself to today becoming a very successful public speaker, making a change in countless other lives. Please welcome Bhomick Sen, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. 20 years ago, when I was in class 10th, I took my first step on the stage during a fancy dress competition. And as you can imagine, this can be a nerve-wracking moment for many of us, right? Those shivering hands, those shaky legs, first time on the stage. But, but considering the fact that I came from an artistic family, which had a background of performing arts, and considering the confidence they had in me, this was never going to be a challenge for me, right? Well, we'll come to that in a bit. With all the swag in this world, with a hashtag, and with a bright smile on my face, I started climbing the stairs towards the stage in that fancy dress competition. And I was dressed as a Panditji. Panditji with tilak, beads, kurta, and am I missing something? Obviously, how can a Panditji be complete without a dhoti? Now, while climbing the stairs, on the last step, I accidentally stepped on my dhoti and had a Humpty Dumpty fall on the stage with my dhoti open and flying across. This is exactly how the audience laughed at that point in time. Red-faced. Red-faced, I somehow gathered my pride and my courage along with my dhoti and started draping it around again. I forgot my lines because I was hooted badly by the audience. And that was my first step on the stage, or shall I say first misstep on the stage, which gave me an acute condition of stage fright for rest of my adolescent life. Well, TEDx is talked about or is often famous about learning new things, right? So lesson number one today is that if you ever have to act like a Panditji, please learn to tie a dhoti, please. And I'm sure many of you in the audience would be able to recall one such incident which happened to you during your school or college lives which you wish had never happened. That incident which left you with the feeling that I'm no good, that low confidence, that low self-esteem. It is like there is a pebble in your shoe, and even if you want to run, it will always hurt. And you know what the sad part is? The sad part is that it does not stop here. This small incident cascades to other aspects of your life as well before snowballing into something bigger with time. Remember, it takes two things to turn a mountain into dust or sand. That is time and pressure. And that is exactly what happened with me after that wardrobe malfunction, or should I say dhoti malfunction? For the next 2 years, which also happened to be my last years in the schooling, I was constantly reminded of the failure I had been on that day. Humiliated, bullied, I was never allowed to move past that incident. It dented my self-confidence. It affected my studies to an extent that I almost flunked, and it gifted me with social anxiety. I stopped going out with my relatives and friends. My girlfriend dumped me, and rare conditions where I managed to go out with my parents in a restaurant, I would shy away from placing an order even. That is how bad it hit me. Sometimes it takes only one unpleasant event in your life to change your world and turn it upside down. And this was one of it. Few years post this event, post this tragic event, I knew something had to change. Because deep inside my heart, I had that belief that this shy, underconfident, unclear boy was not me. And I wanted to regain my identity of a boy who dreamt of conquering the stage that night. I wanted to break the shackles, break through these dark clouds of anxiety, and shine like a star. But the question was how? The best part about these dark clouds, which I talked about, is that they have a silver lining. This guy. He's as crazy in real life as he's looking in the picture. I was lucky to have Gurpreet Singh in my life, who never gave up on me, and relentlessly supported me to find out ways as to how I can come out of this condition which I was blessed with in continuation to that event. He told me various things. He asked me to read self-help books, attend some seminars, but soon I did realize that the only way I could regain my confidence back was by the way I lost it. It is said that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Gurpreet introduced me to a public speaking course, a demo of which he attended and spoke very high of. And he urged me to join that particular course. Obviously, I was unsure about whether to join or not, but something within me said yes. So back in 2003, I joined this public speaking course and made an investment of 100% zeal and commitment to overcome what had become the biggest roadblock in my life. And I'll be very frank here, very, very honest here, it was not easy. During first few classes, the most difficult part for me was to retake that first step, as the images of flying dhoti was still as fresh as the day it happened. But thankfully, with the support of 20-odd participants in the class, some impeccable techniques which were taught to me by my mentor, and my dedication towards 3P method, that's practice, practice, and practice, I was able to bag a small runners-up trophy towards the end of these sessions. The trophy was small, but it had a mammoth impact on my confidence. And a year later, I got a chance to reclaim my identity. Remember the identity of the guy who dreamt of conquering the stage? The venue was Hindi Bhavan, New Delhi, which was hosting a public speaking contest for 40-odd speakers. And the most difficult part was that I still had to climb those stairs, which I climbed, came onto the stage, and started speaking again. By the time I finished, I could realize that there was an audience of 300-odd people who were standing, applauding, and cheering my speech, and it was a massive success. The images of dhoti flying away were gone, and I gleefully welcomed this new beginning with both my arms. This massive success, the confidence which I gained via this massive success, was like a wonder drug which I needed. It was contagious, and it spread across all other aspects of my life as well. From being a not-too-sure person to becoming a yes person. It helped me bag my first ever campus interview. And ever since, it has helped me a lot. It has actually helped me a lot in all the walks of my life, whether it is personal or professional. Now, today, when I look back at it, I consider myself very fortunate that I had that support system, I had Gurpreet in my life, and the action I was able to take. And I was able to come out of this situation. But unfortunately, many are not so blessed. Now, this is 2011 data, mind you, and India, with a population of 121 crore, has approximately 37 crore people or children who are in age group of 0 to 14. Now, if we just safely assume that 1% of this population, only 1%, that's 37 lakh children, encountered such an unpleasant event in their life. That's a huge number. And these small events in these children's life bunch up together, pile up together, and in due course of time, they do a cumulative damage before becoming a societal issue. And we are talking about these students who will tomorrow will be the leaders, but would be living in a society which is both underconfident and having low self-esteem. And that is really bad. Now, we were looking into the future, but if we just look around right now, there are children, and this pressure starts right from the childhood. With parents passing on their unfulfilled dreams and their failures to their children as their ambitions, these poor chaps are not able to find their own identity. And under this pressure to cope up, this societal pressure, when they're not able to actually cope up under this societal pressure, they are prone to things like stress, depression, anxiety, and in many cases, suicide. According to the NCRB data 2015, that's National Crime Records Bureau, close to 9,000 students every year commit suicide. And if you do a bit of math here, it's close to 24 students per day. And if it still does not sink in, every hour a student is committing suicide. That's insane. But howsoever scary these stats might look, but we as human beings are selfish by design. And I was no different. When I saw these stats, even I was disturbed, but just for a while. And then I just let it go. Until one of the students who committed suicide was my next door neighbor. And that is when I realized that something has to be done, because the cause of death was the academic pressure. And that was bad. Students committing suicide at this rate? No. Many of us fail to find our purpose in life, but mine was clear: to be a change catalyst in these students' lives. The best time to give the shape to a pot is when it is still on the potter's wheel, because it is flexible. And similarly, the best time to develop a new habit or to develop a new life skill is again during the childhood years. Considering this thought, I reached out to the principals of government schools and offered them that I'll be imparting public speaking workshops for their children in the school premises over the weekends, absolutely free of cost. Now, this was a golden offer, which I don't think anyone would object, right? But surprisingly, and for the reasons which are still not clear to me, these principals resisted, and they resisted hard. I then approached many tuition academies and gave them the same approach, same proposal, and got the same result. I knew that this is a roadblock for me, and I had to carve my path out of this. And thankfully, that is where my family, who has been always a rock-solid support for me, pitched in. My parents had some influential contacts in the government, leveraging which I fixed some meeting with an officer in the Department of Education. I proposed the idea to her. Very, very confidently, and I told my story as well to her. And thankfully, she got convinced and gave us an authorization letter, which acted as an entry ticket to all the government schools across Delhi. In the years to come, post that approval, I have been organizing these public speaking and confidence development workshops for school children over the weekends. And thankfully, I was really joined. That's really encouraging when I was joined by many of my public speaking institute friends and my wife in this noble venture. After all, a confident individual builds up a confident society. And I would like to share here a small testimony of what a class 8 student had to say after he attended one of the workshops. Can we play the video, please?
The session which I liked the most was the communication skill, because before that session I was not able to speak in front of everyone like I am speaking now, and I became more confident after that. And now I am also able to talk with my friends
And this is what gives me immense satisfaction at the end of the day when I listen to the feedback like this. And this change happened in only 3 weeks. Did you see how he was standing in the power pose? I mean, that was amazing. And over the years, I've been interacting with many children, and I've realized it that while public speaking has been helping them to build their confidence, but there have been also some issues like academic pressures. And if I talk about academics, I would like to ask you guys a couple of questions, and I would encourage a raise of hands. How many of us remember the formula for a plus b cube? A raise of hands, please. Okay, I can just see the handful. A handful of it. All right. How many of us remember the tortoise and the hare story? Wow. That's a houseful, right? So you can recall the tortoise and the hare story which was told to you in class first. Yeah? But you are not able to recall the a plus b cube formula which was taught to you much later in your life. Now what was the reason? Because when I talk about the tortoise and the hare story, this is something which comes into your mind. A vivid image. And if I talk about the formula, this is what comes to your mind, right? And believe me, our brain is wired to process the images in a much better way. We are able to retain much better if the content is shown to us, if the information is shown to us in an imaginary way, in an image way. If you don't believe that, you can close your eyes for 2 seconds and try to think of an elephant. Now, what did come in? What is that you saw? Was that an image of an elephant or ELEPHANT? What was that? What was that? Image. So that's precisely how our brain is wired. And using this fundamental technique and baking in some more techniques, I have developed a course for these students which helps them to remember their curriculum in a funny way. And they are able to learn it and unlearn it at their own will. And I would like to showcase a small practical use case here, which is learning the word and their meanings. I think this is something we would be able to relate, right? This is something we have been doing all our lives in our schools. So what I'll do today is, if a student has to learn these word meanings, what is the normal approach he follows? He crams it? Yes, no? He'll be doing it, okay, mitigate to lesson, mitigate to lesson. This is how we used to do that, right? But if you allow me the next couple of minutes and close your eyes, I will let you remember these words throughout your life. If you can just close your eyes and we'll start. So the first word is mitigate, which means to lessen. Now imagine there is a mitti ka gate, there is a clay gate, and your friend is pouring water on it drop by drop. Now as he's pouring the water drop by drop, the strength of this mitti ka gate is lessening. Iski strength kam ho rahi hai. Mitigate to lessen. Next word is simian. Now imagine you have a knock at your door, and when you open the door, there is a monkey wearing a cap standing, and he's trying to sell the SIM cards. Simian, like a monkey. Next word is benison, which means blessing. Now imagine there is a baniye ka son, a baniya father giving blessings to his son. Beni son, that means blessing. Last word is diligent, which means hardworking. Now imagine Delhi ke agents. Delhi ke agents are hardworking, right? So, all right, so you can open your eyes, and if you can help me with the meaning of mitigate. Thoda sa loud. Mitigate. Simian. Wow. Benison. Amazing. Diligent. You can clap for yourself. Now imagine this easy. It is actually so easy, and if this thing is cascaded to the entire curriculum of these children, I'm sure they will never ever shy away from their studies. And they'll be learning it in a much funny way. And that actually happens. My friends, catalysts are all around us. We just need to be aware and grab them. Catalyst can be something you are doing right now, like listening to my thoughts. It can be a conversation you had with your friend today morning over the tea. It can be a smile you saw on a baby's face. Gurpreet Singh, who made sure who made sure that I come out of that situation, is sadly no longer with us. While my parents gave me the gift of life, Gurpreet gave me the gift of living. And taking a cue from him, I took my first step to being a catalyst in these students' life. And I'll be taking more of these kind of steps. The question is, when you will be taking yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhomick. You really work all 7 days. So clearly, we all can take time out to bring the change that we truly believe in.